week's episode of AEW Dynamite started with somebody going up to Adam Copeland and saying, "How do you feel about taking on Brody King this evening?" And I tell you, if he had gone, "You know what, I don't want to do it," and he would have just flubbed off, I totally would have understood. Also, hello my friends, welcome to Ups and Downs for AEW Dynamite. That's right, I'm in another strange hotel in America, and I'll let you in on my little secret. I'm going to be in a different strange hotel in America for at least the next 10 days. But you know what happens? The finger of power continues to give you the opinions that you need, whatever that means. Let's give the good bits an up and the bad bits are down. Now, thankfully, Adam Copeland did not do this, and instead he said he was ready for Brody King, although he also referenced the fact that his brain is kind of taking over, mostly because the House of Black are spooky wooky, and they've got in his brain. Tony Khan had also made this an ODQ match because Copeland wanted to go back to being the rated R superstar. Once again, I was on tenterhooks. I was like, well, the Young Bucks could change this. We'll have to wait and see. Small spoiler, they didn't change anything. When we did indeed get our first match, and Orange Cassidy defeated Trent, I tell you, I was a little bit surprised. Now, this was mostly because it was the first blow-off fight, so I presumed the heel would win. But instead, at one point, Trent whipped Orange into Barricade, and he just hopped over the thing. And because he had done that, they started fighting in the crowd, and Cassidy grabbed this man, and he suplexed him on the concrete. So I thought he was dead. Now, Trent was able to get back into this because he hurled Orange back to the ringside area, but when they got back in the squared circle, Cassidy from nowhere went, "I do have a fist," and he gave him a surprise orange punch. This is when Don Callis came out and decided that he was going to join commentary, and although I think that Trent is eventually going to join that family, he was putting over the piece of fruit here, but I think it's a ruse. Cassidy then started doing his little kicks, but of course Trent doesn't like this because he thinks it's a waste of time. That's when he went over to Tina the Turnbuckle and tried to explode that thing, and given the referee wasn't watching, Orange was like, "Well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it too." And he did. Trent didn't realise this at all though, so he went for the corner charge. Cassidy got out the way. Trent's head went right into the metal, which is when Orange hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll up, and he got the 1, 2, 3. And I tell you, he likes that move more than I like shining my head. Which is not a good comparison because I don't like doing that at all. It makes me all glowy. Now, Orange can't be happy with what came next because my word, Trent grabbed him and just pile drove him into Simba the Steel Steps. But this is when Don Callis was saying, "No, Trent, you shouldn't continue." And so was Chris Statlander. I mean, essentially, he was trying to finish him off like he finished off Chuck Taylor, but once again, I just think this is a massive trick, and eventually, I think Chris and Trent will join the Don Callis family. Actually, I think them as super heels would be quite good. But I just enjoyed this because, again, it is OG AEW guys having a feud that many of us have been waiting for years. I think the match was quite good, and I really like Orange Cassidy. I think he's underrated, even though some people still want to say horrible things about him. But I think that says more about you than it does for this guy or fruit up. When the Elite turned up and they just parked in Tony Khan's spot, I tell you, it's the little things. We also got reminded that they did murder Kenny Omega last week when we had a promo from Jack Perry who's all like, "AEW doesn't need you anymore, and in fact you will be a good sacrifice so we can get back to the greater good." I was like, listen, guys, why didn't you ask him first? Maybe he would have left nicely. They cut right to Kenny, who was in a hospital bed. My hand went up. I was like, shouldn't we at least give him a couple of weeks to rest? I suppose he didn't want to do this because he was emotionally wounded, given that 15 years of friendship has been flushed down the drain. But given that we are coming up to a big anniversary, he has got an idea for a match. Team AEW taking on Team Elite. There's also going to be an Anarchy in the Arena, which is never bad, and he also does have his first two people to go into his team, and that is FTR. When he did a big old tease, he was all like, "Way." Later on, you will find out the other two. And look, this worked. I wanted to know who it was. So this is really what we were just talking about too, because it was old school AEW guys getting into a war. And once again, this stipulation match has never been bad, and in fact it seems to get better every single time, so I'm putting positivity into the world and giving it an up. Tony Schiavone was here next as he wanted to talk to the brand new #1 contender for the AEW's World Championship, Serena Deeb. He didn't do this. Now, she was pumped for her title shot and understands that everybody loves Toni Storm, but there's no way she can lose this because she documented everything that had gone down in her life over the last 15 months and how she was having these seizures and that she saw doctor after doctor and everyone was like, well, we don't really know what's going on. That's terrifying. It means right now she needs to capitalize on every single opportunity, which is when Toni interrupted and she was like, wait a minute, where's my challenger? Because all I see is a charity case and she threw money at her. I was like, man, she must have been taking lessons from Christian Cage. Toni also doesn't give a shit about any of this. That's the word she did drop when she tried to punch Serena. And because karma is a good thing, thankfully Deeb just smacked her right in the mouth and she went down and she was so knocked out, Luther had to arrive. We carried her off. The only issue I did have with this is that it was quite clear a few weeks ago we were trying to turn Toni babyface, which did make sense because the fans loved her. But I suppose here we knew what Serena's story was, so we delayed it a little bit, and it did not work at all because the crowd basically ignored Deeb and they cheered the Timeless One. So we had a disconnect. So it kind of makes it a strange segment because on the one hand, this one over here, I thought Serena spoke from the heart and it was a good babyface promo, so it is getting an up. But yes, I think we just have to realize that the fans have accepted Toni Storm. They're only going to cheer her even if she says really, really evil and terrible things, which we did do here. So it has to get her down. I just felt sorry for Serena Deeb. It was like the audience wasn't listening. You definitely should have been listening to this. Rocky Romero then went to check on Orange Cassidy, who was in the trainer's room. So at least he has some friends left. It seems like Tony Khan is still active a little bit because he had rang Rocky and said, look, if you're able to beat Jay White later, I will give you a trios title match against the Bang Bang Gang. When Rocky was like, oh my gosh, you and I could team up Orange and maybe we could get Ishii from New Japan, or maybe we can try and sort this stuff with Trent and he could be the third guy. And surprise, surprise, Orange was like, no, and he left the room. I was like, Rocky, what the hell is wrong with you? This guy tried to murder 2 people. I don't think anyone should be trying to be his buddy. Which is when it was time for Harley Cameron to be in a match. And maybe this is my stupid brain. I don't think I've ever seen her wrestle before. Don Callis was still on commentary for some reason, who knows why, and her opponent was Mariah May, so we knew who was going to win here. Although, the first thing Harley did was just slam her right in the head. I was like, yeah, that'll do. Harley then started to laugh at Mariah, though, and kind of started to steal her mannerisms. And May was like, well, I don't appreciate that much. So she, too, slammed her in the head. So we had a head-off, which essentially could be face-off too. Somebody ring Nicolas Cage. Thankfully for Cameron, she did have Saraya in her corner, who of course attacked Mariah May as soon as she could on the outside. When they got back in the ring, Cameron was able to hit a clothesline, but once again this did not work well because Mariah just grabbed her. She gave her a flipping choke bomb. May was also going to follow up with sweet cheek music, but this is when Saraya saved her again. So May was like, I'm done with you. You're wasting my life. So she went and found her. She punched her as well. You can't say she didn't deserve that, and it did lead to a good tease because Harley then hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, but she only got a 1-2 ooh when Mariah hit the Mayday and she got the 3 victory. Of course, these two attacked her instantly, which was going to tie into the story because who came out to make the save? No, it wasn't Timeless Toni Storm because she had been knocked out, but it was Mina Shirakawa. Now, I did laugh because Saraya threw Harley Cameron right under the bus and basically pushed her into this person to get murked. When Mariah and Mina did their weird celebrating thing again, where they drink champagne. Where on earth does it come from? Although I guess it's a good buddy to have, because if you do win a match, you can then have some alcohol. Don Callis was totally perplexed by this as well, which was also quite funny. I do think this is going to tie into a bigger narrative, because of course, these two keep helping each other out. And as for Toni, well, she seems pretty distracted. And I will tell you this was way better than I expected, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but I didn't know what to expect from Harley Cameron, but we kept it short. Mariah May is very good, so I tell you this, is getting it up. When we were backstage with Pac, he's never happy. He's also not sure what is going on with the Death Triangle when he wasn't able to say much more, because in walked Jay White with the guns. And they were basically a trio of dickheads. They laughed at the fact that Pac had lost to Okada at the pay-per-view, but that's like me entering a hair contest and you laughing at me. I mean, what did you expect? Me to win? No. Jay White also mentioned that maybe he should go after the Continental Championship because he knows a thing or two about being Okada, because he did do it in New Japan, but before then he is facing Rocky Romero later and he's gonna whip his ass. They also laughed at Pac one more time before they did leave, so we are either going to reunite the Death Triangle and do that 3-way, or we're gonna get Pac versus Jay White. Let me just search my brain. Yes, I'm totally fine with all of it. Then had this video where Malachi Black was talking about Adam Copeland, and do you know what he essentially said? Adam, you need to get back to your old self because you have lost your edge. Sorry, I shouldn't have done it. And obviously, he didn't say edge, but I tell you that was what he was getting across. Malachi wants to bring back this cold-hearted son of a bitch, though, because he believes that Copeland has sacrificed too much for his family. So we are now getting in the weeds and the greeds with all this stuff. And look, when we get to our main event, you will see soon, probably at the pay-per-view, it is going to be Adam Copeland versus Malachi Black. And given the performances of Adam recently, that could be absolute fire. We then discovered that the Elite were in control again because we got this hilarious video that was basically like, oh man, the Young Bucks, they changed the face of wrestling. Aren't they great? And do not forget this, Matthew Nicholas Jackson did actually do that. It's a different video for a different day. We then cut to them as well, and they were just like, oh man, we need to give these production guys a raise, and they would be much more handy around here than having Kenny Omega, so they were firing more shots. They also got handed a rundown of the show, and they did an eye roll, because next it was going to be the AEW World Champion, Swerve Strickland, and they were correct. And if he didn't have this match with Christian Cage at the pay-per-view, I would have presumed he was going to be on Team AEW because he's going to have to do something with the Bucks eventually. They keep butting heads. Swerve did make his way to the ring though, and he was a pretty sad panda because he was like, look, Prince Nana isn't with me because 7 days ago we did get our asses whipped and we ain't happy about it. That is just the way though, because of course he is now the champion, so everyone is gunning for him when he went mega babyface given where they were location wise and said, you know what, I am the Conor McDavid of All Elite Wrestling, and he got a big old cheer. By this point he had said Christian Cage is so much. Christian came out and said, listen dude, everything we did do 7 days ago was part of the plan, and do you know how that plan ends? With me taking your AEW World Championship. Damn. Cage also said he was going to foreclose on Swerve's house, which did make me laugh because it's so silly. And it means the only thing Strickland will be left with is his gold teeth, unless Cage decides to take them as well. He's such a deplorable human being, and yet I quite like him. So what does that say about me? Given the patriarchy was with Christian as well, they started to close him. But of course, Swerve wasn't worried about this because he's got a group of his own, which is the Mogul Embassy. And I could see what was coming a mile away, especially because Prince Nana wasn't here. I mean, you could just feel it in the air. Straight away, though, Strickland did threaten Christian using a Kendrick Lamar and Drake line, because of course he did. Everybody has to talk about it. And just when it looked like he was going to attack with his fellas, once again, you know what happened? The Mogul Embassy turned on Swerve, and I cried, especially because it means that Brian Cage is now a Christian Cage, and how the flub are we going to keep up with that? They also hit him with a triple power bomb and threw him through Alan the announce table, so I'm sorry, there's no going back here. And it worries me when it comes to Prince Nana, whose side is he on? The Young Bucks were then backstage laughing about all of this when Christian came up to them and shook their hands and said, it's great doing business with you. And he kind of insinuated that this is going to continue, which obviously is meant to plant the seed in your head that maybe, just maybe, they're going to screw Swerve and Christian will be the brand new champion. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I get it. Some people also seem down that this is our first match for Swerve on pay-per-view when it comes to his title, but that is the same kind of thing that people used to say in WWE, and it held Christian back. I think it's absolutely baloney, and he is so damn good, and he always delivers, and when it comes to this bald a-hole, I cannot wait, even if the outcome is obvious. I think they have a great match. I like the fact that we're tying the story up with the Young Bucks, because those two are being dickheads. It is giving it up. Come at me. Willow Nightingale was also being interviewed after this too. She's not feeling great because again, she got into it with Mercedes Moné last week. She is ready to take her on at Double or Nothing though for her championship, when she also said, I will defend this title against those from overseas. And I'm sorry, there has to be a hint that when we get to Forbidden Door, finally, we are going to invite people from Stardom. Good. Willow then made it clear that she is sorry that Mercedes got hurt during their first match, but it doesn't matter now, because ever since then she's been flying, so come the pay-per-view, she needs to keep up that momentum. When Jay White defeated Rocky Romero, and this ruled. Now it was really short, which was a shame because they do have great chemistry. And because Jay White was going, Rocky Romero, you suck to begin with, Rocky hit him with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, surprise roll-up, and he almost beat him. Can you imagine? He followed up with a dive as well, because it is wrestling in 2024 and you have to do a dive. Although when he went for his famous lariats, White cut that off and he hit him with a lariat of his own. Who saw it coming? Romero was then back with a springboard DDT when he also did a Hurricane Rana off Simba the Steel Steps, which was really cool. This is when I realized, oh my gosh, Rocky is underrated, and we do not give him the credit he deserves. He then did hit a crossbody, which is a total waste of time, because it is the most pointless move of 2024, because it never pins anybody. When he went for the sliced bread, but Jay White stopped that and went for the Blade Runner, you don't want that. Now Romero did wiggle out of this, and he got the 1-2 when he saw his opportunity for another sliced bread, and this time, if you can believe it, he hit it. However, there was a problem, because for some reason he just wanted to spam this move like he'd forgotten every other maneuver in the book. So eventually Jay was like, well, I know what you're going to do now. I can learn from this. I am a smart fellow. And he did hit the Blade Runner, and he got the 3. And I was like, Rocky, how did you not see that coming? Even I did. Even Stevie Wonder did. Now, the Guns tried to jump him afterwards, but of course, Pat came out to make the save, which made me giggle. I was like, why are you running away? It is 3-on-1, but surely this is to tease that the Death Triangle are going to get back together, and they will take on the Bang Bang Gang for the Trios titles. So when you put all of this in a ball, I tell you, it excites me. And it's getting it up. We then just had the best video featuring Samoa Joe, and I love this guy because he comes across like a psychopath when it happened. Damn it. Because as we have talked about here on Ups and Downs, over the last few weeks, I haven't really understood the Chris Jericho stuff. It hasn't been for me. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't like everything in wrestling. But on this night, it clicked. Because he is acting like such an over-the-top 1980s babyface, even though he's meant to be a heel. I felt the laughter inside my tum-tum. I was like, darn it, he's done it again. He was also taking on Mo Jabari and Harlan Abbott, who knew what was going to happen here, and his tag team partner was Big Bill. So finally, Big Bill is sitting under the learning tree, especially because Chris has started to call him a giant redwood, which obviously is also a tree. Now essentially Billy just tagged in, he choke slammed everybody when Chris was like, well, I'm good to go, as he hit the Judas effect to get the 3. But it's just his reactions here. He acted like he had saved the world from an alien invasion. It gets me. Afterwards, he got a microphone too and said, isn't it a shame I can't be on Dynamite for 2 hours straight? And also, that match I had with Shibata, it performed really well on Cage Match, so he knows what he's doing. He also thought it was stupid that Hook hit himself in the head with a bat, which is when Tony Schiavone interrupted and said, well, I've just got word the Hook is returning next week. Chris Jericho totally no-solved this. He's like, it will be great. He's like a super duper positive Pete. So here is the deal. Much like in 2016 when Jericho started busting out the list, he is such a good goofy heel, especially when he's trying to act like a babyface, but deep down he knows what he's doing. I'm just gonna give it an up, and it goes to show. Sometimes you do have to let these things play out. Exhibit A. When we got to our main event match, which was Adam Copeland versus Brody King, no DQ, TNT title, and once again, this was utterly fire. Now, I love that we have this story in the background too, where the House of Black deliberately want Adam to go totally mad, although now he's embracing it, but maybe once again that's because he got misted right in the face. Now, he had a terrible plan to begin with because he was going to try and headlock Brody, and that almost got him power bombed, but when they fought to the ring apron, I don't even know what this was, but King kind of hit this neck breaker into the ropes, and that freaked me out. I was like, damn it, that's why Edge had to retire in 2011. He must have been watching Brody King matches though, because when King went to crush him against Barry Barricade, he got out the way. I was like, damn it, I don't think I've ever seen that before. As we were here anyway, he started to hit Brody with chair shot after chair shot, and he hit a DDT onto one of these, where he raked Brody's eyes, and when King swung round to the camera, he had been busted open, and there was so much blood, it was basically like dripping in a big pile of goo. Before Copeland could do anything else though, Brody got to his knees, and he just smashed it with a lariat, but this red stuff must have been getting in his eyes, because we went to charge him in the corner, he totally missed, and he sort of knocked himself out, but he didn't. Adam was also able to reverse that right into the crossface he loves to do, using that chair part, which again is one of his favorite moves. I think he likes it more than his children. I shouldn't have said it. Copeland then did set up a table, because all fans want this, when Brody decided to do that hang choke thing he does over the side of the ring. But obviously Copeland didn't want to die, so he got out of that when they hit each other with big boots and they were both down. And I was a little bit like, I don't think it would go that way. In fact, I think Brody would get the upper hand. He's like a monster. Now, he sort of did, because he went for this huge cannonball in the corner, although Copeland got out of the way of that and he hit him with a power bomb. But when he went to hit the spear, Brody King spike power drove him, and I was like, man, he has got to be dead. Somehow he wasn't though, and given the whole match Adam Copeland had been trying to hit this DVD, they went to the apron, and he did smash him with it when he got back in the ring, and my word, he hit a spear through the ropes, and then through a table. Once again, I started to feel all wibbly-jibbly, because I thought they were dead. I know I keep saying it, but that's how brutal this was. Copeland is also 50, so he's totally mad. This was a great way to end the match because he got back in the ring and he did hit the spear, and it felt like he had to use all the odds to beat Brody King. I liked it, especially because within 3 seconds, Brody was back on his feet. He was going to finish Copeland off as well until Kyle O'Reilly ran down to make the save. And actually, fair play to Kyle. He did tell ads he'd watch his back, and he didn't just mean it literally. They had to work together to get rid of Brody when Adam saw the blood on his hands and he freaked out a bit, which of course ties into the Hobbs curse. So I'm just going to give it an up. And I think all of this is pretty darn good. We also had a quick chat with Mercedes Moné, who essentially said, I don't like Willow Nightingale and I shall be defeating her at the pay-per-view. And she told us about all this celebrity stuff that she's going to do. Now, this was a little long, but I do not care. Mercedes is so much better as a heel, and I'm glad we switched this on a dime. By this point, too, Adam Copeland and Kyle O'Reilly had made their way to the trainer's room. And this Carl, he went, you see how I helped you there? I think a nice thing to do would be to give me a reward. Can I please have a title shot? And Copeland was a bit like, well, that's very offensive. You've hurt my feelings, but actually did agree. So now we are going to do Adam Copeland versus Kyle O'Reilly on Collision. And once again, that is going to be a great fight. And it just goes to show Adam is trying to fight everyone in AEW, as he should do. Soon he will retire. When we actually got to our closing segment, which was featuring the Elite, and I like this, because if you were running the show, you'd book yourself in the closing segment. The Young Bucks even said, man, we know we're on the overrun here, but we rang the network and we told them this show ends when we say it ends, because once again, who's in control? It's not you, it's us. They also said that Okada had a message for Kenny Omega. They passed the microphone and he just went, best bout machine, I hope you get better soon. And he blew him a kiss. As I always say, asshole Okada is the absolute best. Have you also told us that Tony Khan is stuck at home, and while he is the best boss they've ever had, he kept getting in their way, which is why he had to be hit with a TK driver, which is the equivalent of saying, well, I only killed him, Mr. Police Officer, because he wouldn't move his car. I mean, I guess it's an excuse. It's why they did the same thing to Kenny Omega 7 days ago, as they sent another message to him and said, FTR, they're not your friends, and the only reason they're getting into bed with you is because they hate us, don't forget it. They were also happy to accept this Anarchy in the Arena challenge, because nobody else is going to want to go against them, because they are in charge, so good luck finding someone. When Cash and Dax did come out and said, actually we have done this, didn't you hear what Kenneth said earlier? Now, I was massively intrigued to see who it was, and I popped huge because it was Eddie Kingston. And I was like, yes, that's pretty much perfect. Not in my wildest dreams was I ever going to predict the second guy, though, because it was the returning Bryan Danielson, and I'm going to need a story here, because last time I saw Bryan and Eddie in a ring, they totally hated each other. Maybe they just hate the Elite more. His pop was totally awesome, though, as Matthew was like, I wouldn't attack us if I were you. And of course, guess who was the guy to throw the first punch? It was Eddie. He is the best. It also triggered this huge brawl which ended AEW Dynamite as security tried to break them up, and I always enjoy it when AEW does do this. And seriously, we're only a couple of weeks away from that pay-per-view, and we're going to get Anarchy in the Arena that features the like of the Young Bucks and Bryan Danielson. Take my plug and plug me in. This is most definitely getting it up. Which did indeed bring us to the end of AEW Dynamite, and I think they have found their moxie again recently, because there is a good balance of matches and storylines. I'm hoping that does continue, and I'm ready for the pay-per-view. It's kind of nice that they are closer together. Overall, it gets it up. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's show. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for Raw, to get all my wrestling opinions. And as ever, thank you for supporting me as I do go on tour with the last match in my strange hotel room. Shouldn't have sniffed a curtain. I don't know why I did that. It's like 2 a.m. here. I need to go to bed. I'm very weird. I've made myself laugh. Goodbye.